Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my non-spoiler review for Avengers Infinity War. Oh man, so really excited after seeing Avengers Infinity War, and just to say, this will be non-spoiler, but if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out if you're into, Marvel movies, of course, and comic books, and, superhero films. Now, one of the big questions with this one going in, I think, and lately for, all the different superhero movies that have been coming out is whether or not people are going to get fatigued on it. They're calling it superhero fatigue. I see this all over the web. If you look up kind of the box office results already for Avengers Infinity War. I guess it had the second highest grossing so far. Since it's a released film of all time. So it has overcome superhero fatigue so far. And I'll keep this one spoiler free, so don't worry guys if you haven't gone out to see Avengers Infinity War yet. Not a problem, you can still watch this video. And I may do a spoiler review version after this for the review for the big movie. So this one was built up for quite a while. I mean, years in the making. You have all the different Marvel movies. I think that Marvel has really done an amazing job of creating their cinematic universe where you have all the different characters from the different movies that are coming in. You have Guardians of the Galaxy, you have the original Avengers, and kind of what happens with them after Civil War. You get Spider-Man, you throw him in the mix, Doctor Strange, and that's one of the things I think this movie does best is it really balances out well all of your different heroes that you have. Of course, each fan will have their own kind of favorites. For some people, they might be maybe their favorite movies are the Cap movies. Or for some people, they want to see more Iron Man, or some people want to see more Spider-Man, or a few people might want to see more Doctor Strange and some of these other, offshoot characters that kind of started to come in closer to Phase 2 versus some of the, old school Avengers or some of the original lineup Avengers, such as the big ones that we see in the original Avengers movie. And comparing this movie to the other Avengers movies and to the other Marvel movies, I mean, I think it succeeds entirely. I think it does some things in this movie that you wouldn't expect, and it really is the most epic Marvel movie that they've done so far. And that is saying a lot because they've made so many at this point, and it's going to be difficult, of course, for them to kind of recapture the magic that they had in the first Avengers movie. When you first initially get to see, the core Avengers kind of line up the back-to-back as they go around. You got the Hulk, you got Cap, you got Iron Man. You have all these kind of just colossal, these huge characters. Getting to see this movie at this point, it must be difficult to kind of juggle everything you have. Black Panther, there, I forgot. See, so there's so many, in it that it's like they actually do a really good job. It must have been really hard to kind of, plan that whole thing out, but they do a great job of kind of giving each character their due time, and I think that it balances out really well. So if you're a fan of, let's say, Doctor Strange, for example, he has actually a lot of time in the movie. He's actually one of the forefront, characters. A lot of the times you might be thinking that going in, the Hulk is going to steal the show again, and he's going to get, most of the attention throughout the movie, or Iron Man as kind of, I want to say, if there's a leader, see, again, it depends who you like on, if you're with Iron Man or Cap or some of the other characters here. If there's a one leader character for the MCU, it's kind of debatable on who it's going to be. Like, who for you it might be Iron Man, or for other people it might be Cap. Cap will always be the leader. For some people it might be Thor if they're a huge fan of Thor. And I think that this movie does an amazing job, even though its runtime is pretty long. So it is an epic movie. If you guys are going to go see it, it's like 2.5 hours long. So be prepared, and there is, of course, a lot of action, a lot of back and forth fighting, and it's got a lot of content. It's one movie, but there's a lot to it. It's pretty jam-packed. But still, nonetheless, even though they put all these different things in it, and they had all these different movies set up to kind of all converge and come together, as you see all the Marvel, characters kind of join forces against Thanos and his faction. They do a really good job of really spreading it out and giving all of your different fan favorites enough time, and I felt like it was just overall really well balanced, considering how much of a mess it really could have became if they just based on the amount of characters, based on this huge roster. And it still felt like, pretty much nobody got gypped. Everybody got their time. They got their lines. They got to say some funny. Even Guardians of the Galaxy, they got lots of time in the movie. More than I thought they might have, which was really good to see. And they were at the forefront, as well as all of our other Avengers characters and all the other kind of Phase 2 Marvel heroes that have been coming in with their own movies, and that all kind of coming together to create. I would say in the way they handled it, a very well-balanced movie considering the size of the roster. And in addition to it being very well-balanced from the hero side, I thought that Thanos was a fantastic villain, man. Really, Josh Brolin's, version of this character, or his interpretation, his adaptation on the screen, it was just amazing. He really does come in as this imposing, and they set him up well. For example, I won't give away too much, but there's some fights near the beginning there where he kind of has a test of strength in, one of the first scenes in the movie here. And right away they set him up as this, just omnipotent, just crazy powerful foe that is at the kind of level that we have not seen before. He is at a level where everything before that we've seen, all the other villains we've seen in all the different, Marvel movies, as powerful as some of them might be, he really comes across in Infinity War as the most powerful villain we have ever seen in the Marvel Universe. Cinematic universe, that is. And so I felt like that was great. Just the way he comes across, kind of how strong the villain feels, how the odds are really stacked against our heroes. The way they kind of use Doctor Strange to set that up and kind of explain, just how powerful Thanos is and how much of a chance they actually have against him. And that's basically everybody from all these different movies, all of our heroes coming together, this huge, if you want to call them kind of the greater Avengers, but just Avengers with everybody throwing everything they have at the kitchen sink at Thanos. And we won't get into any spoilers, but Thanos just comes across as one of the all-time best on-screen villains, I think, which is something to be said, because of course with the Infinity Gauntlet and everything, because he could have come across as just some big guy video game boss, which is something that is a problem with having so many superhero movies, is that you can have some that come across as like this just random CG, no personality, really nothing to them type of video game boss, where you just have to the good guys have to defeat him in the end, and everything goes as how you would expect, and nobody dies, and everything works out great, and there's rainbows and gumdrops, and everything else is it turns out like that, and in the end, the villain was really strong, but eventually the good guys were able to kind of overcome him, and everything happens like this. So kind of your regular kind of trajectory for a villain, and then at the end they're defeated, and the heroes either have to kill him or are able to stop him and imprison them or something like this. So with Thanos, man, I was really impressed with how they handled him, and I think that he really does go down as probably one of the best villains we've seen on screen in the MCU, and that is saying a lot considering all the different movies we've had with all of our different heroes here. So the movie itself, I mean, the action sequences back and forth, of course, in Infinity War, it's going to be a war, so it's going to be big, and it is, and it's fun to see, the way all of the heroes work together, the effects and everything else. Kind of, you have Doctor Strange with his wizard thing, right? you have the comedy mixed in as well too, as they always kind of do. And I just feel like overall they really balanced the movie well to kind of have all these different parts. I mean, it might go on a little long, but of course this is the most epic movie they've done, I would say, and I think it was worth it. It turned out well, and I mean, overall I loved it. I can't recommend it enough to people who like the Marvel movies. Definitely, if you're a fan of the Marvel movies, if you're a fan of the Marvel MCU, you can't miss this movie. It's the most epic one they've done so far, the biggest scale one they've done so far. In terms of the story and kind of the back and forth twists and turns of the fights and what happens all throughout, the battles back and forth, the different scenes, I felt like there are a lot of kind of twists as you're going through. At one point you think a character is going to defeat Thanos. So at some times you might think, okay, maybe Iron Man will be the one to do it. He'll be the hero of the show. Or maybe it'll be Cap. Or maybe it'll be Thor. Or maybe it'll be Scarlet Witch. Or maybe it'll be somebody else as they get kind of in a one-on-one confrontation with him. Or some of his goons and that kind of deal. Really, really well done, really surprising. They don't just go with kind of the atypical kind of route to go in the movie. As I've seen a lot of reviews online say, sites and that, it is pretty edgy considering what it is, considering how big of a scale the movie actually is and how important it is to, you know, your loyal fan base. They didn't go kind of the classic kind of rainbows and gumdrops type of approach, as I like to call it. They did go edgier, and they did have some character deaths throughout the movie that you might not expect to see. They set things up pretty quickly in the movie as the stakes being pretty high, which makes it very exciting and a lot of back and forth. Of course, we have kind of the superhuman abilities that are mixed in here, so even if somebody's dead, you know, you're kind of looking at like, are they dead? Are they dead? Like, is this for sure? And, you know, just really well handled all throughout to kind of keep you on the edge of your seat to kind of figuring out, okay, you know, who's going to be alive in the end and what's going to happen, and kind of as many questions as it answers, and you see the war go through. You know, it still leaves you with some pretty good questions as you get closer to the end of the movie. So I would say the movie really surprised me, you know, going in. In terms of expectations, you know, I had pretty high expectations for it. You know, the amount of promotion they've done for the movie, the amount of setup they have in all the other movies together, all culminating into this kind of, you know, mega movie. It's not just any other movie, I would say. This is a special one. This is one that you definitely don't want to miss if you haven't seen absolutely every Marvel movie, if you missed some of them, like I haven't seen every single one. You know, but if you're not sure if you want to kind of check this one out, I'd say that this is one you definitely have to see. You definitely have to give it a shot, but definitely pace yourself because it is pretty long. It is, you know, over a couple hours, and it does. There is a lot happening throughout it. There aren't too many kind of slow moments as you go through. It is pretty high pace, and it is pretty jam packed with content for the movie. So in terms of a score, I'm going to give this one a 9.3. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies they've ever done. It might be the best Marvel movie ever. I think it's difficult for them to do these huge movies and keep having them feeling like each one has higher stakes than the prior. So to make this feel like it's bigger than the first Avengers is not an easy thing to do. You know, going in terms of expectations, it's difficult because of the fatigue as you're releasing so many movies and your fans can kind of get burned out. But I feel like with this one, they added so much in. The stakes were so high and the villain was so fearsome and so awesome that it all just worked out really well together. And they went some, like I said, edgier, but then at the same time going some routes that you wouldn't think it would take that kind of go different from your classic kind of you know, superhero story. As we all know that, you know, you have your heroes here and you go through and they rise to the occasion and nobody dies and everything is fine. They defeat the bad guy and everything happens as per usual, right? I felt like there was enough in this to keep it original, to keep it different, to keep you kind of guessing, and then at the same time have kind of all of those big budget battles and, you know, big kind of pop themes that you're used to. So enough familiar that you're used to with enough of the edgy mixed in to create a really good balance, I think, for the movie that really does feel like, you know, the best Marvel movie, well, the most epic in scale with really high expectations. It's not really fair to compare it to any of the prior movies. You can't compare this to just like the first Spider-Man movie, or, you know, just Doctor Strange, or just one of the Iron Man movies, or even the Avengers movies of prior. I guess maybe those would be the best ones to compare it to, Age of Ultron and the first. This one really does feel like it's, I would say, better than either of those, really, to see it through. So let me know what you guys thought about the movie. If you got a chance to see Avengers Infinity War, leave your comments below. What did you think of Thanos? We'll try to keep it spoiler-free in this one, and I might do a spoiler version after this for you guys, but let me know what you think. Superhero fatigue, of course, in question here, the amount of movies they've done, and did they do enough for you to surprise you, to keep it original, to keep it edgy, to have a little bit of darkness in there with all the light? What did you guys think? Write your comments below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this review, please don't forget to thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, you can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.